Man has a deep curiosity of space. He looks onto other planets for life, hoping to explore more things that may lead to groundbreaking discoveries in science. Truth is, we still haven't fully scratched the surface of our own planet. There are more unlocked mysteries about our past that are hidden under our feet than can ever be fully explored in one lifetime. In this video, we'll look at some of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history that have been cleverly hidden from the public for mysterious reasons. In 2017, during an excavation of a prehistoric site located in the Shandong province, in the Republic of China, a burial site was found with ancient remains of giant people that date back to over 5,000 years. The skeletal characteristics of the tallest giant point to a young male with a height of 1.9 meters in length. Wait, 1.9 meters. That's just a little above 6 feet. Most basketball players these days are above that height, some actually being over 7 feet tall. Maybe this was unnatural for a man around that time, but it's nothing near impressive. With various stories from history including the Holy Bible, giving records of humans and giants occupying the same land, you would expect archaeologists to have discovered a staggering amount of gigantic human-like skeletal remains left from ancient times. Why are the giants from the Shandong province quickly made publicized? And other more bizarre findings that fit into biblical texts and other ancient records kept hidden or destroyed. There were supposed orders from the US Supreme Court, forcing the Smithsonian to release classified documents dating from the early 1900s, proving the organization had been involved in a historical cover-up and destruction of thousands of giant remains. This case was later debunked in 2014 as false. There are indeed a lot of hoaxes like the Cardiff giant and a lot of photoshopped images on the internet to make one really discouraged to continue searching for the truth. But the truth is clearly out there for those who really search. A good place to start, if you're curious about this topic, is the Lovelock Cave in Nevada, which have exposed indisputable facts and records of the existence of cannibalistic giants, who were fought off by the indigenous Paiute people. Aside from Lovelock, there was one interesting article written in the New York Times, which dates back to 11th of February 1902. It clearly states that an old burial ground had been discovered that yielded skeletons of enormous size around 200 miles southeast of Las Vegas. According to the article, Luciana Quintana, on whose ranch the ancient burial plot is located, discovered 2 stones that bore curious inscriptions. Beneath these stones, large bones were unearthed. Bones of a frame that could not have been less than 12 feet in length. The men who opened the grave say the forearm was 4 feet long, and that in a well-preserved jaw, the lower teeth ranged from the size of a hickory nut to that of the largest walnut. The chest of the being is reported as having a circumference of 7 feet. The article also states that Quintana, who has uncovered many other burial places, expresses the opinion that perhaps thousands of skeletons of a race of giants long extinct will be found. This supposition is based on the traditions handed down from the early Spanish invasion that have detailed knowledge of the existence of a giant race that inhabited the plains of what now is eastern New Mexico. The New York Times article finally stated that Indian legends and carvings also in the same section indicate the existence of such a race, which makes us wonder why they are not being displayed alongside dinosaur bones in museums. Could they still be alive in certain areas of the world? I recently posted a short video about giant graves in the Solomon Islands, with stories that seem so real, it will leave you asking more questions. The locals in these islands claim that the giants are still alive and live in well-connected caverns underground. If giants do exist, why are they such a heavily guarded secret? And where on earth are these bones hidden? In 2010, a group of explorers claimed to have found traces of Noah's Ark in Mount Ararat. But their research was widely dismissed by experts who said it lacked real evidence. This was not the first time claims have been made suggesting Mount Ararat was the landing place for the Ark. In September 1960, a young American anesthetic nurse, named Ron Wyatt, along with thousands of other people, read an article in Life magazine about a strange boat-shaped formation in the mountains of Ararat. This article stirred up something within Ron, and he never stopped thinking about the possibilities of finding the remains of Noah's Ark. In 1975, he read a book by René Nurbergen titled The Ark File, which did not only give Ron added fuel for his passion, but presented him with a contact list of those who had visited the site 15 years earlier. It took another 2 years, and for first time in 1977, Ron's journey began. After the course of a decade, he would be the first person to gather the most detailed evidence of the existence of Noah's Ark. The location of the Ark was near the top of Mount Ararat, which looked like a weird formation of rock. According to Ron Wyatt's findings, there were several fragments of different metals, which he believed were used at metal fittings on the ship. Amongst the metals he found was aluminium, which usually never occurs naturally as aluminium, but occurs naturally as alumina, signifying that the fragments were indeed man-made. He went there with different types of metal detectors, including the molecular frequency generator. which was new at the time, and unlike the regular metal detectors, was able to differentiate types of various metals, as well as having the ability to read from great distances. With these devices he was able to detect a regular pattern of these metals, and hence, map a course along the ship's indentation. With the help of rocks, markers and ribbons, he was able to draw 13 lines, which would signify the pattern of a massive ship. Dr. Ekrem İnanır, Turkey's leading archaeologist and world-renowned for his excavation of the Hittite Empire in Turkey, said this to Ron after observing his research.
May I congratulate you for that great success, really.
Thank you, sir.
I believe it is an ancient remains of an old ship.
With all his detailed analysis and research, you would think that Ron Wyatt would have achieved rock star status in the archaeological field. But this was not the case. His discoveries were not taken seriously. And being a former anesthetic nurse didn't make it any better. An archaeologist, Joe Zayas of the Israel Antiquities Authority, even went as far to state that Ron Wyatt is neither an archaeologist, nor has he ever carried out a legally licensed excavation. His claims fall into the category of trash which one finds in tabloids such as the National Enquirer, Sun and others. On November 4, 1922, an English archaeologist named Howard Carter discovered a set of steps near the tomb of King Ramses VI. The steps appeared to lead into another tomb. 3 weeks later the hidden tomb was opened.
Can you see anything? Yes. Wonderful things.
This was the tomb of King Tutankhamun, famously called King Tut. The discovery of King Tut's tomb remains one of the most remarkable recorded archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. The tomb took 10 years to excavate. Some 5,000 items came to light, including a solid gold coffin, royal chariots and the pharaoh's death mask. The tomb and its contents were exceptionally well preserved. But what inspired Carter to find King Tut's tomb in the first place? During that time, Carter started gathering clues to suggest that King Tut's tomb was actually real and present in the Valley of the Kings, because of a cache of leftover materials found in the location. At the time, Carter had no rights to excavate in this area, so he could do nothing but wait. The only man who had rights to excavate at the Valley of the Kings was Theodore Davis, a retired American lawyer, who had a huge fortune and no patience for scientific procedure. So when he felt like he was truly done excavating, he packed his bags and said, "I fear the Valley of the Tombs is now exhausted." He could not have been more wrong. Carter, on the other hand, jumped at the opportunity of excavating the valley after Davis forfeited his rights, and the rest was history. A lot of archaeologists believe this is one of the most remarkable findings in over 100 years, including Nicholas Reeves, a well-renowned Egyptologist. Reeves also believes that there is a much bigger tomb that is yet to be discovered, which is just a few steps away from King Tut's final resting place. The tomb of Nefertiti, who was King Tut's stepmother. She was renowned for her beauty in all of Egypt. Just like Carter, Nicholas Reeves has compiled a number of scientific evidence. He proved that cartouches depicting King Tut had been painted over those of Nefertiti. And, according to him, the funeral paintings on King Tut's wall marked the closing of Nefertiti's, now hidden burial chamber. These all points to the known fact that King Tut was indeed buried a hasty manner because of his sudden death at 19. The proper preparations weren't done, and his corpse was most likely placed in the outer entrance to Nefertiti's tomb, who died 10 years earlier. Reeves theorized that there are two hidden passageways in the walls of King Tut's tomb, which leads to another tomb that is most likely occupied with Nefertiti's corpse and burial materials. Thus in 2016, an American survey team equipped with ground-penetrating radar peered into and beyond the walls. However, they were unable to confirm or reject Reeves' theories. Another team equipped with GPR also conducted their analysis and came to the same conclusion, which left many people even more curious. Why make two attempts with GPR analysis, and fail to either confirm or reject Nicholas Reeves' theories? Was there a cover-up somewhere? At this point, the Egyptian Minister of Antiquities was desperate to put an end to the debate. He stated in a press briefing that he would conduct a third GPR analysis. The third survey was led by Francesco Porcelli, who came forward to publicly state beyond any doubt that there was no hidden chambers beneath the tomb. The entire incident seemed more like a hazy attempt to put people off. Many are still convinced that there is a cover-up somewhere, but not sure why. It is actually a well-known fact that almost everyone present during the discovery of King Tut's tomb, back in 1922, had strange and questionable deaths shortly after, including a British archaeologist named Hugh Evelyn White, who was the only member of the team to ever acknowledge the possibility of a curse. He committed suicide almost a year after the tomb's discovery. He allegedly left behind a suicide note, where he stated in his own words, "I knew there was a curse on me." However, Howard Carter, who discovered the tomb, was fortunate enough to miss the curse. A messenger who went to his house, shortly after he opened King Tut's tomb, found Carter's favorite canary out of its hanging cage, and slowly dying in the mouth of a mysterious cobra, which was the symbolic snake of the pharaoh. Kharijit died many years later, however, at the age of 64 from lymphoma. Could the Egyptian government be protecting their citizens from something terrible within those walls? Or could it just be a strategy to keep attention away from the amount of gold that may be buried there? I mean, think about it. If the funeral of King Tut was rushed in a small tomb and so much gold was found, imagine the amount of gold that would be buried alongside a queen who was known to be one of the most beautiful women who ever lived. So much of our history is being covered up by governments and other organizations. This just restricts our vision into ancient civilizations. The whole situation just leaves us guessing. And the main question is, why are all these cover-ups being made in the first place? Thanks for watching. If you come this far, please subscribe.